Sayın Dekanımız, değerli hocalarım, değerli iş insanları, öncelikle hoş geldiniz. İzniniz olursa kısaca hocamızdan, Profesör Hong Wei'den bahsetmek istiyorum. Kendisi halihazırda Birmingham University girişimcilik, öğrenen organizasyonlar, inovasyon ve sürdürülebilirlik alanlarında çalışıyor. Bizim de kendisiyle bir arada çalışma, projeler gelişme fırsatımız oldu. Bugün kendisi kısa bir girişimcilikte dayanıklılık konulu bir konuşma gerçekleştirecek. İngilizce olacak. Fakat sorular olduğunda ben burada olacağım kendisiyle iletişim kurmak için. İzniniz olursa bir de İngilizce kendisini davet etmek istiyorum. Hi, Hong. Firstly, I want to introduce you. Let me give you a few seconds, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Slide.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, we can see that. Okay. Thank you. Dear Rectress, our Dean, and our academics and the practitioners, distinguished guests, we're welcoming on behalf of the this organizing committee of this conference. It's my honor to invite Professor Hong Wei for a keynote speech about entrepreneurial resilience. But before her speech, I want to introduce briefly her. Professor Hong Wei works at, right now, Birmingham University of Business, Law, and Social Sciences. She worked University of Bath and University of Southampton. Her research covers the learning organization, sustainability, and innovation. And she has been reviewed as a leading scholar and a talented researcher. And then Forbes Vietnam named her as the most inspiring woman in 2021. So, and I also got the chance to work with her. It's my honor, actually. Right now, I'm leaving the stage to her, and Hong, I'm here, and if you have anything, please let me know, okay?
Thank you very much, Megan. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Audience, can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
That's good. Thank you so much. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is my great honor to be here with you today after 2 severe years of COVID pandemic. And now we are talking about entrepreneurs' resilience. Could you please raise your hand if you are small businesses? Thank you. I've seen some of you. Yeah, thank you very much. So I'd like to, I'm going to skip my introductions. I also, I planned to have 3 sessions, 3 sub-sessions in my talk, but now because I think that we run out of time, and I know that Megan texted me saying that there's been heated discussions within the conference. So I'm so glad that, and because in order to save the time of the conference, I am going to skip the first session about Turkish entrepreneurship and the pandemic. But I'm going to focus more on the 2 key sessions. Is about entrepreneurs' resilience and organizational resilience, with a hope that we can reflect into our experience in our research, and at the same time to help you, those small businesses or family businesses, to build up own resilience during the pandemic and post the pandemic. Is it okay? Is it clear? Yeah? Thank you. So I'd like to pose questions that how to help how we, as the scholars, and also family businesses, to help ourselves in terms of psychology to overcome this healthcare crisis and economic shock, and to be resilient to come back and continue our businesses. So I'm going to start with these studies. But before that, I'd like to highlight the key thing that I wanted. As the pandemic happened for the last 2 years, about 80% of Turkish SMEs was substantially impacted by COVID-19. So this number is more or less the same with other economies. According to 180 studies in OECD countries, showed that about 70 to 80% SMEs have been lost between 30 to 50% of their revenues, but of which many went bankrupt. So now, when business goes bankrupt, how does the failure affect our emotional and psychological functioning as entrepreneurs in the months after the venture bankrupt? Now, in these studies, I'm showing you on the screen here that Connor and colleagues conducted 2 years ago. They relate a narrative of psychological functioning in 3 time periods. Time 1 means that right after the failure, just immediate aftermath. And time 2 refer to the intermediate aftermath. It means that few months after that. And time 3 refer to the long term. Now I chose these studies because I think that we can apply these studies to the pandemic when startups failed because of the COVID. And if you look at this figure, which shows a larger error box representing possible functioning over time here. This box divides into horizontal bands, signifying the functioning. So normal functioning is at the top, and then descending to mild, moderate, and then severe disruptions at the bottom here. The dot connectors here, the lines here, represent the trajectory of the psychological function exhibited by the majority of the study participants when their business went bankrupt. Now, the finding from this study shows that the majority of entrepreneurs exhibited a resilient trajectory in their emotional and psychological functioning after an entrepreneurial failure. So they imply that many entrepreneurs tend to re-enter entrepreneurship and learn from and cope with failure in a better way. Now, what do we know about how and what effect entrepreneurs become resilient? I mean, the process of building psychological resilience for entrepreneurs. Now, I show you these studies by Ahmed and Ataköy, who's adopted a practical approach involving the interplay between the data and theories to build a model of resilience for entrepreneurs. So the process starts with facing the triggers that are appraised as stressful. So it means that prior to engaging in entrepreneurship, individuals or us, may face stress resulting from different life domains like poverty or natural disaster. Now, if we cope effectively with these kind of stress, we are likely to build our resilience, which we can draw upon to take decisions to engage in entrepreneurship. You know, the entrepreneurship period can be seen as an outcome of the process triggered by our original life stresses. For example, if we want to overcome our poverty, and then, you know, we might think about starting our own business to find, you know, to find a way to survive. Now, alternatively, these individuals, we might engage in entrepreneurship and strategies to cope up with life. You know, for example, we have a passion for venturing. We want to do something to help us. When we engage in entrepreneurship, we then can adopt two strategies. Either problem-focused strategy, such as business pivoting or partnership, or the second strategy called emotion-focused strategy. You know, such as exercising and meditating. You know, we use meditation as a mechanism to help us to focus on our emotion, to cope up with new stress resulting from our entrepreneurship experience. So to cope with stress, entrepreneurs can draw on their personal characteristics, their capability, social support, for example, business network and coaching, or their previous business-related experiences. So changes in those resources can lead entrepreneurs to reappraising situation and changing the coping strategies. You know, I mentioned here the coping strategy here, either problem-focused or emotion-focused here. And these coping experiences help entrepreneurs build resilience, which can in turn enhance their mental health, well-being, as well as the performance of their ventures. And as a result, you know, a resilient feedback loop unfold. This study is to say that, you know, we know how to manage our stress well if we know how to, you know, to use different stress coping strategies, use them effectively. We are more likely to be resilient in running our business. So the feedback loop is between our life stress and entrepreneurial stress, and if we can use them effectively. And I'm showing you the studies on entrepreneur self-efficacy, which functions as self-generated motivation that shapes individuals' intentions to start a business. This study is conducted by Jennifer and colleagues last year. And this study shows that, you know, a number of external changes, such as COVID pandemic, suddenly have homogeneous effect on individuals. But rather, you know, we make sense of the COVID pandemic and react differently. Even though the COVID-19 lockdown intervention was objectively stimulus for most people, for most of us, but each of us have a unique circumstances which made us come up with different interpretation and perception of the disrupted environment. And, you know, that is the reason that why we might focus on different aspects of the crisis, depending on what we see. And in these studies, venture halls illustrated a heterogeneous effect of COVID lockdown. Now, even with the same level of self-efficacy, I refer to self-efficacy as a self-generated motivation. Okay, so given that we have the same level of self-efficacy, but those with pessimistic perception of the outcome expectation was less likely to possess entrepreneurial intention compared to those who have an optimistic perception. So what do you mean by pessimistic perception? I mean that people might see COVID-19 crisis as a complex and confusing health crisis, but which also have intensive destructive effects on the economy. The business community has been detoxed by COVID in this lockdown. So with pessimistic people, we see all the negativity of the COVID pandemic. But with the optimistic people, they tend to see the two sides of the coin. They see, it is a healthcare crisis, it is an economic shock, but at the same time, they appreciate that the government has quickly initiated financial support packages and compensation schemes. For example, with the case of Turkey, the government initiated, I remember that the program of 100 billion Turkish liras, economic shock, with various initiatives to support businesses, such as reduction tax, or waive with the feelings and give more support, pay up to 60% for employee salaries, for example. So those people see that kind of support as a optimistic, that they are more likely to re-enter entrepreneurship. So, Rector and colleagues concluded that the pessimistic finance represented danger and challenges, where optimists represent opportunities. So, entrepreneurs with the same level of entrepreneurs' self-efficacy, but very different level of entrepreneurs' retentions. My question here is, what makes people perceive differently on the same thing? In my own research, I would answer that it depends on our mental models. It depends on the way we see the world. Some people see the world in a positive way, but some people see it in a more negative way. In the next slide, I'm going to show some individual factors that affect entrepreneurs' resilience. So, Tucker conducted a biographical analysis of successful entrepreneurs. And here is the result of these studies. Now, if you look at the left-hand side, from the main categories to the identified factors here. The first categories are situational factors, which are made of parents' behavior and parents' experience. Now, for example, successful entrepreneurs tend to come from family in which parents shows a high level of freedom, respect, support, and responsibility. And their parents like challenges. They have rich business experiences, even failure experiences. And the second categories are the process-related factors and attitudes and behavior. These process-related factors refer to entrepreneurial learning and experience. The experience including both success and failure. The attitude and behavior such as ambition, passion, dedication, and goal orientation. And on the right-hand side are individual factors, including traits, skill, ability, mindset, emotions that can make successful entrepreneurs. And as I mentioned before, those kind of attitudes relate to more about our positivities towards life or life events. And from this, we developed an analysis of successful entrepreneurs that developed a model of entrepreneurial resilience. Now, this model here shows that when individual factors that make resilient entrepreneurs interact with situational factors, such as support from family, from government, from our network, we can create a process of resilience. In this process, we as entrepreneurs utilize and maximize our resilient resources, from individual factors and from situational factors, in order to take responsibility and take risks, which, in return, can increase our confidence in our business as a result. And when we go through this process, we can stay effective in the face of certainty and complexity that the world is throwing at us. So to sum up, these studies, I'd like to say that family businesses as the starting point for another generations of entrepreneurs. If we run a family business and be a careful, please watch out our own behaviors and also take time to share our frustrations with our children when you think they are old enough. And also very important as a parent is that we try to avoid negative or pessimistic attitudes in front of our kids in order for us to help them to build their resilience. Is it clear so far about the entrepreneur resilience? Shall we move to the next one about the next one is about the entrepreneurial resilience arise from complex interplays of resilience at the organizational and individual levels. So we learned about, entrepreneurial resilience, which is the foundation of entrepreneurship resilience. And how does a business develop organizational adaptive resilience in response to extreme events or crises like the COVID pandemic? Resilience in SMEs may be articulated as a demonstration of ventures' capacities and ability to overcome exogenous pressures, external pressure, to ensure the continuity, the survival of the business and carry out business renewal and reorientation. Research has shown a strong relationship between entrepreneurial activity of business ventures and their resilient strategies that I've shown you before. Entrepreneurs operate in a resource-constrained world. We have limited resources. And this condition necessitates resource prudence in the exploration of their business model. What do I mean by resourcefulness? It refers broadly to the pattern behavior of doing more with less. That's called resourcefulness. We can do more with less. So entrepreneurs behave resourcefully when they can identify opportunity in the environment and direct their behavior to successfully cope with the task of creating and managing organization in order to pursue the opportunity. Now, KEYNOTE and colleagues recently published a study showing that SME adjusted the value creation, the value delivery, and the value captures. And here, the value is the center of the process of our business. So, why SME entrepreneurs experience hardship and uncertainty during the COVID pandemic? They also showed optimism and was able to identify business opportunities. That is where a lot of SMEs now transfer into digital platforms. They maximize the support of the government in order to retrain the employee, upskill themselves in order to apply digital technologies into their business. And that is where they see the opportunities. So, KEYNOTE in the study shows that the pandemic-induced shock disruptions SMEs in three primary activities that I've mentioned here: value creation, value delivery, and value capture here. So the disruption to these activities was responded with various strategies, which emerged with three types of resilience. We call survival resilience, continuity resilience, or growth resilience. And this is called adaptive resilience, which explores strategies that entrepreneurial firms use in response to disruptions. So that is the way that organizations, small businesses, young businesses, find a way to respond to extreme events like COVID-19. And I'd like to close our talk today because we a bit run out of time. But I want to close my talk today with a quote from Winston Churchill. Success is not violent. Failure is not fatal. But it is the courage to continue that counts. So this is the message that I'd like to send to small businesses. I know that we've been struggling the last 2 weeks, but we need the courage to continue. And for the rest of the time that we have today, I don't think that we have much time, but I'd like to close this for any questions or interactions. If you don't have time to share how our business has been bounced back to overcome the pandemic-related crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Hong. Maybe. Okay, thank you for such an inspiring speech. Right now in Turkish, I'm going to ask whether there's a question or not, okay? Sayın hocalarım, değerli katılımcılar, Hong'a sorularınız varsa iletebilirim ya da konuşması üzerine tartışmak istediğiniz hususlar varsa, aksi takdirde son konuşmasının altında bir takım sorulardan bahsetmişti. Bu konuyla alakalı eğer geri görüşleriniz varsa iletmekten büyük bir memnuniyet duyarım. Biraz sanırım zamandan dolayı da çok vaktimiz de yok sanırım. O zaman ben bir temas noktası olarak kalayım. Eğer bir yorum, bir öneri, bir görüş varsa kendisi iletmek üzere olurum. O zaman ben teşekkürlerimi ileteceğim tekrardan. Because of the time constraints, so even if there are questions, but right now we couldn't ask, but if they have, I will transfer to you and we'll discuss it. Okay, thank you. Have a great and inspiring speech for us. And we have a gift for you, and I'm keeping to give you when I'm in the UK, okay?
Okay, thank you so much. I wish you a successful conference. And if you have any further questions, feel free to contact me, approach me, and then we can discuss. And I look forward to working with the Turkish entrepreneurship ecosystems, because I've been there. I've learned a lot of Turkish entrepreneurship ecosystem, and I will use your face in a lot of my work. And I expect that Bergen can come to work with me in the UK to further develop that ecosystems. And I'm truly believe that Turkish entrepreneurship ecosystem has a setup, an example for many other developing countries in the world. Because I've been traveling a lot, but I haven't seen that kind of support from government to build up the ecosystem, quite strong and embedded into academia like Turkey. So I'm so happy for you, as small businesses and family businesses, that you are in a very nurturing environment. So I wish you all the very best of luck and success in your business and your life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I close my screen now.
Okay, thank you.